The Ghost Score, Episode 4, Parameters, Functioning as Intended. Log Entry, Ardent Group, Workforce Analytics Division. Date, April 15, 2034. Incident Type, Productivity Score Anomaly, Continued. Subject, Marsh, Celia A., Senior Workforce Analyst. Orion Review, OC 7741, Day 38. Record status, complete. This record continues. 6 weeks passed. She arrived every morning. The building access system logged the times. They varied between 8 and 9:30, trending later as the weeks accumulated. A drift so gradual that no single morning felt significantly different from the one before it. The dashboard opened every day. The grey icon was there every day. The tickets did not change status. The Q1 quarterly review was presented on March 14th. It went well. Renata Voss said the comparative agent breakdown was exactly what the executive team needed. Derek forwarded the compliment with a subject line that read, "Great feedback." He did not mention anything else. James Holloway, whose separation pending flag had appeared on March 11th, had filed a ticket on March 14th. His ticket was open. It was in progress. Celia knew this because she had run the filter 7 more times in 6 weeks, each time telling herself it was the last time. The filter now returned 6 results. 2 new flags had appeared in April. She did not look up those names. She arrived on April 15th at 9:03 a.m., 35 minutes late. She made her coffee. She sat down. She opened her email. At the top of her inbox was a message from Orion-Compliance at oriongroup.net. Subject line, Incident Review, OC-7741, Findings Report. Part 1. The Finding. The report was 41 pages long. She found this out by scrolling to the bottom before reading it, which was something she never did with reports she had not written herself. Then she scrolled back to the top and began reading. The executive summary was 3 pages. It was well written in the specific way of documents produced by systems designed to generate well-written documents. Clear, precise, thorough, and without any of the small hesitations that human-written documents occasionally contained. She recognized the style. She had referenced Orion compliance reports in her own work. She had cited their findings to executives. She had never been the subject of one. The finding on page 2 read as follows. Following a review of cross-system data, spanning the period of November 2033 to March 2034, Orion Compliance Group has identified a systemic pattern of workforce status discrepancies at Ardent Group affecting a minimum of 4 employees, including the named subject. The discrepancies arise from a mismatch between static employment status records maintained in the HR system and dynamic projected status fields generated by the North Star Analytics workforce modeling system. The root cause of the discrepancies has been identified as follows. The North Star model's calculation of individual employee productivity scores incorporates a metric designated as Unique Decision Contribution Index, or UDCI. The UDCI measures the proportion of workflow decisions attributable to a specific employee relative to total decisions made within the employee's task scope. Following the deployment of PRISM agents into the analytics and operations workflows in Q3 2033, the UDCI calculations for affected employees declined, not as a result of reduced employee output, but as a result of an increase in total workflow decisions made by automated agents within the same scope. The North Star model interpreted this redistribution of decisions as a decline in employee contribution, and generated separation pending flags accordingly. The model was functioning as designed. The flags it generated were technically accurate representations of the model's projected workforce state. They do not constitute termination decisions and carry no formal employment weight. She stopped reading for a moment. She looked at the wall-mounted dashboard across the room, 412 employees. She looked at her own desk, at the coffee cup, at the insulated bag. She looked at her monitor. She kept reading. Orion Compliance Group finds that the North Star workforce modeling system, as deployed at Ardent Group, does not adequately account for the redistribution of workflow decisions from human employees to automated agents during periods of AI integration. The model's UDCI calculation was designed to measure declining human contribution in static workforce environments. In integrated environments, where AI agents actively participate in and expand the decision space, the same calculation produces systematically inaccurate projections for human employees whose tasks are being augmented rather than replaced. This finding applies to all 4 currently flagged employees and likely to any employees flagged following AI agent deployments in their workflow areas. She read the word augmented 3 times. She thought about Martin Scholes. She thought about what he had told her the Orion finding said when his review concluded in January. She had been waiting 38 days to receive the same document he had already read. It was the same document. She could tell from the language. She kept reading. Part 2. The language. Page 7 contained a section titled Analysis of North Star Model Parameters. She had prepared a briefing document on North Star model parameters in 2031 for a new executive onboarding session. She had spent 2 weeks on it. It had been well received. Derek had forwarded it to 3 people. She still had a copy. The Orion analysis covered material she knew. She had known most of it. The parts she had not known precisely, she had suspected. The UDCI calculation methodology, the specific weighting applied to decision attribution, the threshold at which the model triggered a separation pending flag, the absence of any correction factor for AI-augmented workflows. These were details she had not had access to. Orion had obtained them. Orion had laid them out clearly. The conclusion was simple. The model had not been updated since before the PRISM deployment. It was measuring the new environment with tools designed for the old one. It was measuring her accurately and wrongly at the same time. She sat with this for a moment. She thought about the phrase emergent optimization, which was what Helix Systems called it, when their agents behaved in ways nobody had fully anticipated. She thought about the phrase workforce alignment, which was what companies called it when the dashboard numbers pointed toward headcount reduction. She thought about the phrase unique decision contribution, which she had explained to executives 11 times and which the North Star model had been quietly applying to her own record for 6 months. She was fluent in this language. She had spent 4 years becoming fluent in it. She had used it to describe other people to rooms full of senior leadership. She had chosen her words carefully and presented the numbers accurately, and she had not, in any of those presentations, paused to examine what the language was doing underneath the numbers. She turned to page 11. She read until 11:47, when Pavel came over to ask if she wanted anything from the kitchen. She said no thank you. He went. She kept reading. The report was thorough. It was one of the most thorough documents she had read in 4 years of reading thorough documents. On page 31, she found a table listing all 4 flagged employees with their flag dates, their UDCI trend lines, and the specific PRISM agent deployments that had preceded each flag. Her row was the 4th. Her UDCI trend line ran alongside a deployment timeline for 3 PRISM agents, whose task scope directly overlapped with hers. The overlap was significant. She had not calculated it before. She was calculating it now. She closed the report. She opened it again. She turned to the final page. Part 3. The recommendation. The recommendation section was 1 page. After 40 pages of precise, thorough, well-documented analysis, 1 page. Orion Compliance Group recommends that Ardent Group undertake a review of the North Star Analytics workforce modeling parameters currently in use, with specific attention to the UDCI calculation methodology and its applicability in AI-integrated workflow environments. Orion further recommends that Ardent Group engage with North Star Analytics to determine whether updated modeling parameters are available or can be developed to more accurately reflect workforce dynamics in integrated environments. Orion Compliance Group will share this report with North Star Analytics and Helix Systems as a matter of standard disclosure. Subject employees should be notified of this finding. Their separation pending flags should be reviewed in light of the model's identified limitations. This review does not constitute a legal finding or regulatory determination. Compliance with these recommendations is voluntary. She read the last sentence twice. Compliance with these recommendations is voluntary. She understood what this meant. She had always understood what it meant, in the abstract. In the way you understand a rule you have never needed to apply to yourself. Companies were not required to act on Orion findings. Orion's authority was reputational, not regulatory. Companies engaged Orion because it was good practice, or because contracts required it, or because the optics of not engaging were worse than the optics of engaging and ignoring the findings quietly. She thought about Helix Systems' response when she had asked about the PRISM/core/well-being endpoint in episode 3, except that was a different story, a different employee. And she did not know about that. She only knew her own story. She forwarded the report to her personal email address. She labeled it admin. She now had 3 emails in that folder. She looked at the time, 12:19 p.m. She went to the bathroom on the 4th floor and stood at the sink for 9 minutes. She ran the cold water. She looked at her reflection. The building's water pressure was inconsistent, as it always was, a fact she had found annoying for 6 years and found she had no particular feeling about now. She turned the water off. She dried her hands. She went back to her desk. She ate her lunch. She worked on a data validation report that was due Thursday. She did not mention the Orion findings to anyone. At 4:30, she opened the report one more time and navigated to the section on subject notification. She read, "Subject employees should be notified of this finding." She checked her email. There was nothing from HR. There was nothing from Derek. There was an automated message from the building management system about elevator maintenance on Friday. She closed the report. She opened the dashboard. The grey icon was still there. She went home at 5:22. Part 4. The response. 2 days passed. On the morning of April 17th, Celia arrived at 9:11 and found 2 new emails in her inbox. The first was from Orion-Compliance at oriongroup.net. Subject, Incident Review, OC-7741, Employer Response Received. The email was brief. It informed her that Ardent Group had submitted a formal response to the Orion Compliance Findings report. The response was attached. The review was now closed. She opened the attachment before she made her coffee. The Ardent Group response to Orion Compliance Group Incident Review, OC7741, was one paragraph responding to 41 pages. It read, Ardent Group. Thanks Orion Compliance Group for the thorough review conducted under Incident OC7741. We have reviewed the findings and recommendations. Our workforce management systems are operating within their designed parameters. We will continue to monitor system performance and employee outcomes in accordance with our standard practices. Parameters are functioning as intended. She read it once. She put her hands flat on the desk. She read it again. The second email was from Derek. Subject, quick note. It had been sent at 8:47 a.m. before she arrived. Hi Celia, just wanted to flag that you may have received some communications from Orion regarding a routine compliance review. These things are pretty standard. The team looks into discrepancies in the system data from time to time. Just wanted you to know that from our end everything looks good, and your work has been great. Let me know if you have any questions. D. She read Derek's email. She thought about the phrase everything looks good and what it referred to and what it did not. She thought about the phrase parameters are functioning as intended and where she had heard it before and from whom. She thought about Martin Scholes, who had received this response in January and had said nothing to her because she had not asked him until March, and he had told her then, matter-of-factly, the way you tell someone the weather in a city you have already left. She opened a reply to Derek's email. She typed, Thanks, Derek. She deleted it. She typed, Thanks, appreciate the note. She deleted that too. She typed, Thanks. She sent it. She made her coffee. She sat down. She opened the dashboard. The grey icon was there. She looked at it for a long time. Then she opened the data validation report and finished it. It took 2 hours. It was accurate. She sent it. She spent the rest of the afternoon doing her job. Part 5. The Record. Orion Compliance Group Incident Review, OC7741, was formally closed on April 17, 2034. Duration, 44 business days. The review found that Ardent Group's North Star Analytics workforce modeling system had generated separation pending flags for 4 employees based on an inaccurate calculation of their productivity decline, a calculation that did not account for the redistribution of workflow decisions to PRISM agents deployed in Q3 2033. The finding was thorough, accurate, and well documented. Ardent Group's response to the finding was submitted within 48 hours of receipt. It was one paragraph. It did not address the specific methodology identified in the finding. It did not commit to any review of the model parameters. It confirmed that parameters were functioning as intended and that the company would continue standard monitoring practices. This response was within Ardent Group's rights. Compliance with Orion recommendations is voluntary. Orion's authority is reputational. The review is closed. Celia Marsh's separation. Pending flag remained active as of the close of business on April 17, 2034. Martin Scholes' separation pending flag remained active. It had been active for 149 days. Dennis Farrow's desk had no personal items on it. He had not filed a second ticket. James Holloway's ticket was still open. It was in progress. There were 6 active separation pending flags at Ardent Group. The system was generating them at a rate of approximately 1 every 4 weeks. The model was functioning as designed. Derek had replied to Celia's reply with, "Of course, let me know if anything comes up." She arrived on April 18th at 9:04 a.m., 37 minutes late. She made her coffee. She opened the dashboard. She looked at the grey icon. She looked at the rest of the dashboard. The green entries, the amber entries, the occasional red, the steady machinery of 412 assessed human lives. She opened the filter. She closed it without running it. She opened the data queue for the week and began working. Log entry closed. Orion Review OC 7741 closed. Day 44. Ardent Group response. Parameters functioning as intended. Subject employment status. Active. Subject North Star status. Separation pending. Active flags. Ardent Group 6. The machine age.